This is film class, week 8, part 8. Um, Now, I've been talking about toxic masculinity, and of course, one of my points is that Jimmy Stewart's character is the toxic male. He's the guy who he thinks masculinity is the most important thing in the world, and he's going to force people to, he's got to be manly, and if he's not manly, then something's wrong, and he's going to treat people like shit, and he's going to do all these terrible things uh, to prop up, because that's what manliness is. It's about power and control and getting what you want, and controlling women in particular, and not being like a woman, because that would be bad. Because even though you love women, you don't want to be like women because you think women are weak, which means you think they're bad, just like Reverend Powell. Same kind of shit. Now, obviously, Jimmy Stewart is sort of the toxic male, but what I think a crucial part of toxic masculinity that this movie shows that's really important is it's not just about individuals. It's not just that some men are toxic, although obviously some men are toxic. It's that society around them supports that. So, what's really fascinating to me in the movie is the way he goes to people, women, to help transform Judy, the hairdresser and the woman who works at the clothing store. He ignores Judy. Judy says, I prefer my hair to be like that. He says, no, it has to be like this other way. And she says, I prefer this dress. He says, no, it has to be this other dress, because he just doesn't give a shit what she wants. He wants to transform her into his fantasy. And it is a fantasy because Madeline was never real. So what are you going to call her? She's not a person. He's not trying to transform Judy into another person, because there's no such person as Madeline. It was always an act. He's trying to transform her into a fantasy. He doesn't know that, but Madeline was only ever a fantasy. The women help him. He ignores Judy, which is bad enough. But the other women who work at the store, because he's paying, and again, that's that power and that freedom, because he's paying, they completely ignore what she wants. They don't listen to her, and they say, "Oh yes, we understand. We're going to make her hair look just like you." So she tells the hairdresser, like, "I don't want my hair to look like this." The hairdresser assures Jimmy Stewart, "Oh, we can get it the way you want it, sir. We can get you the dress that you want for this woman." And she's protesting, and they completely ignore her. So it's not just about toxic men; it's about a society that supports them. Whereas if you have enough money, you can get salespeople to do whatever the fuck you want. Cool. All right. Notice, by the way, the really neat scene where Judy gets upset in the dress shop. And she rushes over and she puts her head against the wall, but it's a mirror. And then Jimmy Stewart comes behind her. But it's interesting because you see Judy here, and then there's a mirror, and then there's a reflection of Judy. But it emphasizes the two Judys, Judy and Madeline, these weird twins, these very strange kind of doppelgangers, copies. This will come up again in some of our movies. Okay, cool. Good. Okay, I said that already. Here's a crucial thing. Remember, Jimmy Stewart doesn't feel masculine enough. He feels weak, unmanly, effeminate. Who's the manliest man in this movie? Gavin Elster. Gavin Elster, by the way, whose last name means bird, a magpie, which is a kind of bird that steals things. So it emphasizes the idea of Gavin Elster as a kind of sneaky thief. Again, how did Gavin Elster get his empire? He married into it, and the dad just gave it to him. It's not his; it was somebody else's, and he got it. Like the magpie bird that Elster. That's what Elster means. Okay, so what's really interesting about what Jimmy Stewart is doing to poor Judy is that it's exactly what Gavin did to Judy. Gavin, the most manly man in the movie. What did Gavin do? Well, Gavin hired Judy to play a role. Well, what role? The role of Madeline. So Gavin picked her hair, picked her clothes, picked her accent and the way she's going to talk and walk and all this stuff. He designed her. So Gavin already did this to Judy, and now Jimmy Stewart doesn't know he's repeating here, but Jimmy Stewart is just doing to Judy again what Gavin already did to her, which is transform her into another person. He using his money and his power to transform her into somebody else against her wishes. I mean, I guess I don't know. She went along with it for the money, but like that sucks. Like from Judy's perspective, she's already done this with Gavin, had her hair done, gotten the outfits and all this stuff, and now she's doing it again with Scotty. And by the way, please notice Gavin Elster murdered his wife and is a terrible fucking human being. Now Jimmy Stewart's doing the same thing. From Judy's perspective, this is fucked up that this is happening to her. Two men in her life have transformed her in this way, and one of them was a fucking murderer. So like that's not the big red flag if you're dating. Okay, cool. He finally gets her exactly the way he wants to. By the way, please notice that her hotel is the Empire Hotel. What's Empire? It's a big country, empires like that. When you hear the word empire, you think of masculine, manly power going out in the world and conquering things and making the world look like you want. This is my empire. Well, Jimmy Stewart's empire is poor Judy. Um, that's because empire is what you get to control, where you are the emperor and can do whatever you want. And that's the name of her hotel. It's the Empire Hotel. Um, and again, she wants to have just the tiniest bit of freedom. Couldn't my hair look a little different? And he says, no, it has to be in this exact twist. He will give her no freedom at all. There is no compromise here, because his sort of fantasy slash sex needs are so specific. It's such a specific, narrow situation he's going for, that he can accept absolutely no variation on it at all. By the way, please notice, remember in The Shining when in room 237 how ugly that room was because it was all purple and green, leading into the bathroom where the old woman is in the tub. Please notice that same color scheme shows up here. Purple and green is like ugly. That's why the Joker wears it, because it's like an ugly, creepy color scheme. Joker wears it. It's in the hotel in The Shining. It's in Madeline's bedroom. It's that purple because of the Empire Hotel sign puts this green light. There's like a purple light. It's this swirl of ugly colors because Jimmy Stewart's doing something really ugly and disturbing, just like the Joker, just like in that bathroom, purple and green. And there's a whole color. You'd have to take an art class to really deal with that. But there's color schemes and not meanings like red always means anger, because it can mean lots. It can mean love too. But the way it's used in the film suggests things when you see the color in that film. It's not like a code exactly where every time you see purple in a movie it means this, but if you see purple and green together here and you see it here, then if this third guy maybe watch these first two things, he's going to do the same kind of stuff with it. Okay, when he finally gets her exactly the way he wants, he kisses her and the camera rotates and he's back in time kissing Madeline just before she killed herself. It's the magic of the fetish that time is destroyed because he got what he wanted, which is she's back. She died and now she's back. And so it's like camera rotates around them as he feels like he's been given a second chance, that he's rotated back in time. Again, you might remember Freud, like if you get your woman to do exactly the thing you want, you'll feel just like you're back in your mom's arms or your mom's womb or whatever insanity. But he feels for a split second, like, and again, he's not teleporting, right? They're communicating how it feels for Jimmy Stewart to have successfully recreated Madeline using Judy. Right, perfectly good idea if you want to paint a painting any way you want, but if you're going to force a person into that shape, terrifying. But he's created her like this, and it's almost like he's finally been freed from time. Because what did time do to him? Time took away the woman he loved, and now he is the master of time because he basically brought her back from the dead by recreating Madeline in Judy. And of course, the real tragedy is he doesn't know that Judy was always Madeline. And what's really tragic is he wanted Madeline to love him. And Judy loves him. And Judy was Madeline. So he should already have what he wants, but he can't accept it unless it's exactly that sexual fetish. He's a control freak. He's got to control it and make it exactly like this, or he won't be happy. And when he doesn't give a shit about her. He just wants to recreate Madeline. Okay, cool. Hey, I made it to the last page. All right, good. All right, because it's a second chance. He wants a second chance. She died, and he wants a second chance. What's fucked up about the second chance is that, like a lot of people with second chances, they do the same thing happens again. You want your second chance, and then I'm sure you've seen this. You ever know friends of yours that like date somebody and then they make a bunch of mistakes, and then that person they break up, and then they get a new person and they make all the same mistakes with that new person, and then they break up. It's a cycle, right? Because you're the one doing it. It's something in here, and Jimmy Stewart is now trapped in this repetitive situation where he's going to go through all of the tragedy is going to repeat. Because he's making it repeat. He's all about repetition. He wants the same. You ever see little kids and they want the same bedtime routine, the same story, the same game 100 times? He's like that. He has to have the exact same thing he had last time, and he will accept no variations on it, except the thing he wants is Madeline, and Madeline's dead. All right, I'll pick it up in the next video.